One of the factors contributing to hatred towards immigrants and asylum seekers is the ignorance about history. Uh, Adam Smith believed that man is by nature is good, and he has this sense of compassion. He really feels sorry when he looks at any handicapped person, any special person, when he looks at any elderly who might need help. He um, tends to extend such help without giving a second thought or without any hesitation. So, one of the things that is not taught in European history, especially in British history, is the outright plundering of the colonies by European colonial empires, which were, of course, run by the ruling elite of these societies. For instance, how many students in schools, in British school, know that more than 4 million Indians served during the First and Second World War? In addition to that, production at a massive scale was also carried out in British colonial India. And if the British had not, if the Indians had not extended help, especially during the Second World War, the country might have been conquered or captured by Hitler. And a number of far right leaders today may not have been born, because it is asserted that Hitler's plan was to castrate all non Aryans and subjugate their women. So that is one of the things that even after the war, uh, a large number of immigrants, they invested their energies in the reconstruction of the UK, especially after the Second World War. A number of people from Caribbean, they helped with transportation services and NHS. They worked there, and of course, a large number of laborers from Pakistan and India. They also came to UK to serve, and in the same way, uh, people from Africa or French colony, they got settled in France because they were fighting for the colonial administration that had been French government had been wiped out, and they had taken shelter. Some of their leaders had taken shelter in other countries, and it was, of course, allies, but also the people of French colonies who helped France during those testing times. And one important point that needs to be understood, that Indians, soldiers, Pakistani soldiers of that time, or soldiers from Gurkhas and from other British colonies, especially non-white British colonies, because of course there were British white soldiers as well from Australia, Canada, New Zealand, South Africa as well. The colored soldiers and the staff members, they did not meet out very good treatment. They were discriminated against. Even then, Indians and other colonized people, they fought for the UK to save the UK from the wrath of Hitler and from the aggressive design of Hitler. So this is important. Then, of course, one of the reasons as to why many colonized people are poor, or people in the global south are poor, again, it has got to do with colonization. The ruling elite of Europe plundered those countries. For instance, um, it is said that only the UK, according to one research of Columbia University, British colonial empire or colonial administration looted $45 trillion from India alone. And of course, the UK had a number of colonies as well. The British colonial empire also imposed drugs, especially opium, on China. Chinese emperor was not ready to allow that. Then a war was imposed on it, forcing China to open up 12 ports for the smuggling. And once upon a time, In 19th century, according to some historians, drugs was one of the important components of British trade. Some historians go to the extent of suggesting that it constituted more than 30% of British trade. Then a number of deaths are also blamed on the British colonial empire. For instance, only in India, more than 35 million people perished in Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, and other famines. And Indian nationalists assert that it was because of the British policy, especially Churchill's policy during the Second World War, that led to killing of people on a very massive scale. In the same way, British colonial policy also led to the decimation of more than 1 million people in Ireland, forcing another million or more than 1 million to migrate to different parts of the world, especially to the United States. So, one of the reasons as to why global south is poor is this uh, colonial plundering. According to Jaron Diamond, uh, prior to industrial revolution or before the industrial revolution, more than 35% of the world had already been captured by Western colonial powers. And by 1945, 85% of the world was under the control of colonial powers, including Japan. So it's not only the Western colonial powers, but other powers as well. So it was under their control. So if we look at uh, different countries in Europe, for instance, it's not, sorry, it's not merely a coincidence that in towards the end of the 15th century, Spain started plundering and Portugal soon jumped in, although Portugal had already had already captured some areas in Africa in 14th century. In 15th century, they both started plundering, and in 16th century, they were not only superpowers but uh, most prosperous states of Europe. Then Netherlands jumped in, emerging as a powerful country again. Then UK and France also jumped in and plundering, and they also emerged as global powers. Now it is said that a Spanish ship would bring gold and silver looted from Aztec, Maya, and other empires, Unca's empires, and they used to be robbed by British, French, and other European pirates. One of the pirates, it is asserted, was rewarded with knighthood, and he rose to the position of admiral. American professor Noam Chomsky has said that it's not merely a coincidence that seven superpowers of the world happen to be those who have, in a way, been colonial powers, or some of those have been extension of colonial powers, like the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. They were not colonial powers, but they have been. In case of the United States, it did have a colony like the Philippines, but some people say that since uh, the United States banned the entry of any other power in Western Hemisphere, so Western Hemisphere was the backyard of the United States, and it was run by the United States effectively, which more or less turned it into its colonies in an invisible way. So, that was one of the things that when we talk about poverty of the global South or poverty in developed countries, of course, corruption is one of the factors. But if we look at history, so this is one of the factors. Western colonization was also one of the factors contributing to this uh, poverty. We shall continue this. This is first part, uh, and I believe the lecture series title should be "What uh, British Schools Do Not Teach You." So this is part one, and we will come up with part two.